Arrow Season 3, Episode 21, Sah-him. Definitely an amazing episode for the season. It actually reminded me a lot of the earlier episodes of this season where the team kind of had to wonder, like, is Oliver, dead or not? Like, they had some episodes where they really had to work together and figure out certain things. They had an episode where they were really down in the dumps and it was like, who knows what the F we're going to do? Like, Oliver's been gone for 2 weeks. He's probably dead. We're not as cool as him. We're not, we're not as good of a team without him. And, this episode was very similar to that. And it was even worse, really, because they had to deal with the fact that Oliver was alive, but he was evil. It was like, Dark Oliver. Like, it was just, he was a bad guy. And it was really fun to watch them go through this episode. And honestly, it was a cool way to end it where they didn't really come out on top in this one. They didn't have a win. Like, Team Arrow lost to the Arrow. Like, they couldn't bring him back in this episode. And it was just really cool. It was really fun to watch them try to figure out anything and everything they could to make it work and to bring Oliver back from, being Dark Oliver. And they couldn't. By the end of this episode, everyone was kind of just like, we are, as Diggle said, like, we're the last parts of him that are left. Like, he's gone, but, not forgotten. And I thought it was just really fun to watch that. I thought it was actually really cool that they didn't, have, like, a win automatically or anything like that. And even if they were able to turn him in this episode, there would still be a lot of stuff down the line. But I think it's cool that they saved it for, maybe the next episode of the season finale, which I'm sure they're going to end up saving them because of the stuff with the Flash and how that ends up crossing over. So it might go back and forth, and that's how they end up saving them. They somehow get some help from Star Labs, and, that's just how it ends up working. Or maybe they do it all in Arrow, and then, they do the crossover by itself. But I'm excited for it. I think this was definitely a great first episode of Oliver as the heir to the demon, and we see that he's like under this crazy mind control. They have it where he, gets the crazy hallucination in the beginning. He sees Diggle when it's actually someone else, and he kills that guy. But he did have a bit of hesitation. I feel it wasn't. I personally, at least, I feel like it wasn't as quick when it was actually Diggle, and of course he was stopped anyway by Thea, which was really cool getting to see her actually use an arrow. It made me think of the whole Speedy thing, and she may or may not actually take on that role. But it just seemed like he had a bit of hesitation compared to when he had done it early on in the episode. So there's something there. There are a couple of little things that we can still see, like some stuff seemingly affected him in this episode, but ultimately he did kind of brush everything off and he just, moved on. Like, there's some stuff, like at the very end of the episode when he realized that there was like another little side mission going on next to him taking out his rivalry to the throne, and it was the fact that Ra's al Ghul was looking for this thing, and like even when he first found out about it, he was looking, because when he tells Misael, like, did you search her? And he's like, it didn't seem like she had it on her. Oliver returned because he didn't know what the heck they were talking about, so he's curious. And then he gets the explanation, like, she's hiding weapons and stuff like that, and what she hid was this, which totally caught me by surprise when they brought up the fact that someone, somewhere, somehow held onto the Alpha and Omega formula from Oliver's time on the island. I didn't expect that at all at the end of this episode. I was thinking, the Alpha Omega thing is really just what he went through. It was just like the stuff on the island. Although that did obviously come back in a very huge way in the last season, I didn't think that was going to happen again this season. I figured that was something he went through, and the stuff that would come back from those flashbacks would only be the characters, and that was it. I thought it would be Misael and Katana, and how they're on different sides of the spectrum. And, Misael being with the League, Katana kind of doing her own thing. I'm not sure what she's doing. She's close enough to the League to where she was like by the cliff and she helped save Oliver, but she's still doing her own thing. And also, in the preview they played for this episode, it was like less than a second long, I think, But when they were in like the big open area, she's in like her full on comic book costume with like the white mask with the big red dot and everything. It just looked really cool. It's like a quick second, but she's gonna be in her full comic book costume. So I'm really excited to see that. But I was really surprised at the end. It was like, here's the Alpha and Omega formula, and you're gonna take this and destroy your city. Like that is the final step to becoming Ra's al Ghul. It's like you have to forget your past, and then you have to erase your past so that there's no way that it'll come back to you. And obviously Oliver's in like some crazy mind control stuff, so he's gonna get out of that eventually. But it seems like if something happens while he's under this mind control and he gets to where Ra's al Ghul currently is, it makes me wonder, like, wouldn't he? Seemingly Ra's al Ghul has he's totally competent as far as what is happening and what has happened in the past. So it's kind of like, if Oliver does that, he'll feel bad. He'd feel terrible for hurting people and for obviously destroying his entire city. I don't think he'd be under 100% mind control, but ultimately I don't think that's going to end up happening. I'm sure the city's going to be fine, so we won't have to really see what'll happen there. But it was a great way to end the episode. A nice little twist, kind of added onto the fact that now Ra's al Ghul totally proved he's like father of the millennia. Like, I'm gonna force my gay daughter to marry the guy who she feels is totally taking her place, and then they're gonna have kids together. Like, yep, I'm a great dad. Done. Like, that was just a crazy moment. See, I didn't expect that at all. It was like, he's just doing stuff, like at the end of this episode, he was just doing stuff left and right. I was like, okay, he saved Nyssa. I initially thought it's because it's his daughter. Like, he saved her, he stopped Oliver, because it's like, as much as I feel she betrayed me, she is my daughter, and I do love her. And I figured, okay, that's why he stopped her. She's captured, he'll put her in prison. She'd be in prison for the rest of her life, but she wouldn't be dead, and that's how he would win. Like, alright, she was defeated, but I get to keep her alive because I want to see my daughter. And then it's like, nope, you will be husband, you will be wife. Boom. This will join our clans together, join our families. That was Oliver's crazy look number 2, where he was like, he looked at her and it was like, he had a weird look on his face. But just some crazy stuff from Ra's al Ghul at the end of this episode. Lots of random twists coming in. They're connecting the past and the present together with the Alpha and Omega. Very unfortunate. We got to see the beginning of the end for Akio in the flashbacks. That was the last little scene. And I'm wondering now, like, what happened? Because with him bleeding from the mouth, it makes it seem as though he is being affected by the Alpha Omega poison, and they were all inoculated. So I don't know exactly what's happening there. I initially just figured he was shot in a firefight. It just seemed to make the most sense. They were on the run, the army found them, and they were shooting. Akio got shot, and that was it. But nothing happened, and he turns to Katana, and she sees that he has blood pouring out of his mouth, and it's just like, why didn't it work on him? What was wrong? That this cure that's obviously working on everyone else and has worked because they're all alive in the present, why didn't it work on their son, who admittedly, like with children, your body is a lot more susceptible to things. It should have been like supercharged cure for him because he was so much younger, and yet the virus still took hold. Like, it was much slower, and I don't know if he exactly felt it. It seemed like he was just kind of looking at her, and he didn't have really much of an expression. That could have just been the child actor, and that's just how they told him to do it, where he just has a normal look, just turn to her and look. But I'm very curious about that now, because I was so sure he'd been hit, and random crossfire, it just made sense. But he's been affected by the poison, and I kind of can't wait to get an explanation as to why he, for whatever reason. I'm sure he took it because everyone else is like dying just left and right in the streets. So I highly doubt that, he didn't take it, especially because he was in the house with the woman and she died, but he was totally fine. So it's not like the gas just like went over his head or anything crazy like that. he was in the house. She was affected by it. He had the cure, but it's an extremely delayed effect, and for whatever reason, that's why he suffers. Like, he ends up dying from this poison. But I'd love to know why, and I'm sure we'll get an explanation. I'm not worried that we won't. But it did suck to kind of get that by the end of this episode, and it's just like, enjoy thinking about that coming for 7 days, because now we're gonna wait, and it's just like in the next episode, for the flashback portion, probably by the end of the next episode in the flashbacks, he will be dead, unfortunately. And it's just like, it's kind of been obvious. Like, it was one big thing. I was like, I just kept hoping over and over again until the last episode. Like, I really hope he lived, and there's some weird reason for that. And unfortunately, Maseo even talked about it in the last episode, and now we just get to see it. We have to just watch it happen, and we know it's coming. So it makes it a little bit sadder, knowing that there's like just no hope. Like, I was so sure that he was gone, but it was like, I don't know 100%. They didn't say it, so that hope's gone now, because Maseo was talking to Diggle about it, and now they kind of hint like the next episode is going to be the last one where he's alive. Like, that's going to show what happened and how he died, and what Oliver, Maseo, and Katana did after that happened, and really how Maseo changed after it happened. Because especially with what he wanted to do, where it's like he didn't want to do go after the Alpha Omega anyway. He wanted to take his family and Oliver and just get the heck out of town, and that didn't exactly work out. And because things happened the way that they did with the Alpha and Omega getting released, his son did die because of that. And maybe that's, obviously that was why he turned to the League to begin with, was his son's death. He couldn't get past it. But now we kind of see, like, in more detail, it's not what he wanted to do anyway, and he'll probably have the thought process, like, if we just left like I wanted to, our son would still be alive. But I'm excited to see it a little, I guess. It's going to be really sad to watch, because it's like a little kid dying that we've known for like the whole season, so that does really, really suck. But I'm excited to see where they do take the flashbacks and exactly what happens, because who knows where he's going after this. I think it's going to be, for this season, another year, I guess. So he's still got a bunch of extra stuff. It's still like 5 years left, of him just gone. And even this entire season in the flashbacks hasn't been a whole year. It's been maybe a couple months, probably something simple like that. Because it's still the same weather and all that stuff. So it's still in the summer. It's probably only been like 2 months, 3 months, something like that. So I'm not sure where it's going to end in the actual season finale for the flashbacks, but I'm very excited for it. Obviously the present timeline is just all crazy. Like, the characters being super depressed by the end of this one. Nissa being captured and now having to marry Oliver, and vice versa. Well, he wasn't captured, but brainwashed, and now he has to marry her, which it was, like I said, one of those moments where he kind of displayed emotion, but at the same time, his emotion that he displayed in this entire episode was either angry or like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and he just expresses confusion, and that's really it. So it doesn't say too much as far as how much emotion he truly has, and obviously he's under mind control, like wiping his actual name and memory and life away. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I love the episode. Thea found out that Roy was alive in this one, so that was kind of cool. In the preview, they're like making out and stuff against the wall, but them getting back together seems kind of cool. They're gonna go off and stuff, and we'll actually get to see Roy, so that's kind of cool. That's probably the coolest part about it. He's not just gone now for the rest of the season. He'll be in it. And we still have to see what happens with the rest of the team. We also got to see the Canary cry for the first time, so that was really cool. And I'm sure that'll just get cooler and cooler. They'll probably advance it, where it's like, I doubt they'll do it with the sonic waves and stuff. It'll just be glass breaking all the time. But it was a cool first start, and I'd love to see them expand when they're in like a huge fight and she does it. Because she was in like a fight, like at the end of the episode when they were all fighting and stuff. She didn't use it then to like, kind of just blow someone back and knock them down. At this point, it really is just like a sonic emitter just to mess with people's ears. But at some point, it's gonna get to like an actual blast. Like if she hits someone with it with the scream, they'll like fly back. They'll get hit by like sound waves that are actually physical. So it might take some time. We might not even get that, in season 3. But it's gonna build up little by little, and I'm excited to see that play out. So great first time seeing it. I think it definitely worked well. The action in this episode was good. Seeing Nissa, um, be normal was definitely pretty cool. So we got to see her character actually adapt to, having adapted to normal life, and now she has to go back to the league and complete 180 by the end of this one. But I love the episode. Incredibly excited for the next one, of course. I want to know you guys thought about this one though, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. And of course, I have to ask, how do you guys think they're going to actually save Oliver? Like, how are they going to bring him back? Who's going to bring him back? Because Thea was so sure that it could be her, and it didn't really seem to work in this episode. Also, when she shot him with the arrow, it was just a crazy, like, badass moment for him where he was just like, he just cut the top part off and was just like looking at it like, and then he just pulled the bottom out and just tossed it. I was like, that's just pretty intense for his character, and he's like an ultra intense version right now. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I want to know what you guys think, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.